Hey Eric, what's up?
Hey Josh, I was just calling to see how the build was going.
It's going great. In fact, I'm hanging out with it right now. Go fish. In fact, it's going so good that I don't know how we're going to top it unless NVIDIA comes up with an A2000 Ti.
Why wait? I could just pull one out of thin air. Actually, I think I can make that happen.
Don't get at it. That's Uno.
Warning. Overload. System overload.
In our last video, Josh showcased his latest build in the Skyreach 4 Tiny that featured an RTX A2000 GPU. If you haven't watched it, then go check it out because a lot of what you don't see here will be covered there. This build uses these same components, but it also has a full custom water cooling loop for both the CPU and the GPU. The modular Skyreach 4 Tiny is extremely versatile, but in order to squeeze a full water cooling loop into only 3 liters of volume, I had to design a one-of-a-kind 3-tiered monoblock that can cool both the GPU and the CPU in a sandwich configuration. I've always wanted to make a GPU water block with a full coverage copper cold plate from scratch using just the scrap material that I've accumulated over the years, and this was a perfect opportunity to do so. In total, 13 parts were carefully designed and manufactured to efficiently utilize every millimeter of space within the Skyreach 4 Tiny. The RTX A2000 was enhanced with a resistor mod, also known as a shunt mod, to unlock the GPU's full potential. The RTX A2000 is a cut-down version of the RTX 3060 that pulls only 70 watts. This modification was very popular among cryptocurrency miners at launch and enables the GPU to pull more power. In order to prevent damaging the motherboard and the riser cable from the increased power draw, I soldered an auxiliary 12-volt power cable directly to the GPU that plugs into the power supply. We can do this and overclock the GPU safely since it will be water cooled. The GPU cold plate was more difficult than I had anticipated. I knew that while pulling some of the copper wiring from a few of the electric motors in my scrap box, that the purity and quality of the copper was questionable. I had some pure copper stock on hand just in case, but I really wanted to stick to the original plan of recycling. My first attempt resulted in failure. The ingot had undesirable pitting and it was brittle, so I remelted the cold plate and added some pure copper stock. The second attempt also failed when the cold plate cracked in a few places to the point that I was able to easily pull it apart. I modified the design to increase the overall thickness and fortified the areas around the mounting points. During the third pour, I increased the heat well past the melting point, added some more pure copper stock, and recast the ingot. This attempt was far more successful and the results were perfect. Let me know about your experience with melting, casting, and then machining metal. Do you think the melting temperature was too low, or was the purity to blame? I look forward to your answers and comments below. The hot swap bezel was not part of the original design. I did not realize that the radiator would block access to the mounting screws until the assembly. I had to adapt and use neodymium magnets to make it work. Now that the power limit has been removed with the shunt mod and the cooling capacity increase, the core boosted itself well over 1,900 megahertz. I created a custom curve profile with MSI Afterburner to lock it in at 1,815 megahertz at 0.875 millivolts and increase the memory speed by 1,000 megahertz. This puts the A2000 very close to the performance of the RTX 3060. There is definitely more room for overclocking, but this custom water cooling loop is already saturated and can't prevent both the CPU and the GPU from throttling. I had to lock the CPU to 3.8 GHz across all 8 cores and reduce the voltage from 1.35 to 1.2 volts. The total system power draw averaged 35 watts at idle with peaks up to 215 watts during gaming. In the end, I'm very impressed with the performance gain that was achieved with the A2000 shunt mod. Workstation benchmark results were very close to the performance of the stock RTX 3060, and gaming was enjoyable with high settings at 1440p on all the games that I tested. I would love to hook this GPU up to a larger water cooling system and push it to the limits. Despite how compact this build is and how difficult the assembly was, it is very easy to upgrade the RAM and the storage by simply removing the side panels. The custom vertical stand is a tank, and overall the build just feels like a solid chunk of aluminum. This project was a terrific stepping stone towards future APU and small form factor GPU builds in the S4 Tiny. Your support is vital to our future success and content on YouTube. Please help us out by sharing, clicking like, commenting below, or subscribing. We have a phenomenal and active Discord channel that you are more than welcome to join. Our members are small form factor enthusiasts from around the world, and they're awesome. We would love to have you as our next Patreon so that we can continue to push the limits of small form factor computing. Details and links are in the description below. Thanks for watching. Is that good? Stop.